Have you ever wondered why society often associates women with perfect, pure images, while we sometimes forget that women are complex individuals with immense power? Women, in the eyes of society, are often idealized. They are the perfect mothers, loyal wives, and helpless creatures who need protection. But is this the truth? Friedrich Nietzsche, the famous German philosopher, never accepted these idealizations. He boldly criticized these notions and presented a fresh, even shocking perspective for his time. Nietzsche argued that the truth about women is not the dreamy or idealized image we often construct. He viewed women as independent, strong, and complex individuals, and was unafraid to point out that the relationship between men and women is not always the idealized harmony we imagine. So, why did Nietzsche have such a view of women? Could these ideas help us understand the relationship between men and women in the modern world? Let's explore Nietzsche's profound views on women and power, and reconsider the assumptions society has attached to women for centuries. In many cultures, women have always been seen as symbols of purity, virtue, and perfection. Especially in fairy tales, films, or even social relationships, women are often depicted as gentle, fragile beings who can do no wrong. This image of women has been ingrained in society's collective psyche for thousands of years. But does this image truly reflect the essence of women? Are these assumptions real, or are they mere illusions we've created over time to cope with the complexity and independence of women? When we talk about the idealization of women, we are referring to the process by which society creates unrealistic images of women. These images are often associated with qualities like purity, virtue, and timeless beauty. Women in these images are seen as beings that need to be protected, loved unconditionally, and are the center of idealized love. They are placed on a pedestal like goddesses with no flaws, always embodying the perfect model of virtue. However, if we look deeper into the essence of women, is this image truly accurate? Women, just like men, have dark sides, complexities, conflicting emotions, and do not always act in accordance with the idealizations society has placed upon them. In reality, this idealization creates a significant gap between who women truly are and who society expects them to be. This not only causes misunderstandings in relationships between men and women, but also makes women feel that they must force themselves into these idealized images. Friedrich Nietzsche was a philosopher known for his different and candid views on many social issues, including his perspectives on women. He never agreed with the idealizations that society created about women. Nietzsche believed that men love an idealized image of women, not the women themselves. Men don't love women as they truly are, but love what they want women to be in an ideal world. Nietzsche argued that this idealization is a form of self-deception. Men do not dare to face the complexity and true power of women because they are afraid to confront their true nature, a nature that might not fit the image they have built in their minds. Therefore, instead of loving women as powerful, independent individuals with strong instincts, men have chosen to love an idealized image of women, an image they can control and easily tolerate. This leads to self-deception, not only in the relationships between men and women, but also in how men perceive themselves and society. Nietzsche did not see women as weak or needing protection. He recognized that women have their own strengths, and this power is not always outwardly displayed, but is hidden within. Women have the ability to influence and control situations without needing to openly exhibit power. However, when men fail to recognize this and continue to love an idealized image of women, they are deceiving themselves and ignoring the reality that women can also be independent and strong. When men love women through an idealized image, they are not truly loving the woman they are with. Instead, they love an illusion, a version of the woman they desire. This leads to an inauthentic relationship where both parties do not truly understand and accept each other's true nature. When reality no longer aligns with the idealized images that men have built in their heads, disappointment and feelings of betrayal often arise. But the truth is, women don't change. The only thing that changes is the shattered, idealized image. Men often idealize women, viewing them as innocent, pure, and incapable of doing anything wrong. But this does not mean they are loving women. They love what they want women to become. And when women do not live up to these expectations, they feel betrayed. Nietzsche pointed out that relationships between men and women are often clouded by illusions and self-deception, and this is the main reason relationships fail. One clear example of the idealization of women is the image of women in fairy tales. Most famous fairy tales depict women as weak characters who need to be rescued by a man, a prince or hero. Stories like Cinderella, Snow White, and the Seven Dwarfs, or Sleeping Beauty, revolve around the motif of women as pure beings who cannot save themselves and need a man to free them from hardship or danger. In these stories, women are always the ones being rescued. They have no power, cannot save themselves, and are always in need of protection from men. But does this image truly reflect the reality of women? Is it an idealization that reduces their strong, independent nature? Women in real life are not weak creatures. They have the ability to be independent and make decisions about their lives. However, these fairy tales have created an image of women that society wants to see, but it is not always realistic. Another example. In modern romantic films, we also see the idealization of women. They are always the ones who need to be rescued, whether in a difficult situation or in a romantic relationship. Women in these films are often portrayed as enduring, fragile, and needing protection from men in order to find happiness. However, this completely contradicts reality. Women are not just those who are saved, but they have the power to determine their own lives and create happiness from within themselves. When we think of power, most of us immediately picture a man in power, the head of an organization, or someone who makes clear, strong decisions. But few know that women also possess a form of power that is just as strong. This is indirect power, power that does not need to be overtly displayed, but is quiet, subtle, and often unnoticed. Nietzsche recognized that women do not display power in the same public way men do. Instead, they use a very specific strategy: indirect power. This means that women know how to influence and change men's decisions without directly ordering them or being overtly assertive. They don't need a clear leadership position to have influence. Instead, their influence comes from subtle actions, small changes that men might not even recognize. You've probably met a woman who can change your mind without saying much. That's the indirect power Nietzsche talked about. Women don't need to shout, apply pressure, or use force. Instead, they can change a man's thinking with just a glance, a clever comment, or simply a deep understanding of the other person's psychology. Women have the ability to use subtle strategies to influence the decisions of men without needing to do anything overtly. This is a wonderful ability to adjust someone's behavior or thinking without showing external power. Women's power often comes from charm, but not just physical charm. Here, charm also includes the ability to communicate, how they understand the psychology of others, and the ability to make others feel heard. Women are great at recognizing others' emotions and changing their attitude without needing to make anything obvious. You've probably noticed women who don't need to use strong words, but can soften someone's heart with just a gentle comment, a look, or a kind smile. That's the real power of women. They understand that charm is not just about appearance, but about making others feel comfortable and understood. Beyond charm, women are also skilled at using subtle communication. This is not just about words, but about how they use nonverbal expressions, such as eye contact, gestures, and actions to create influence. These may seem invisible, but they are extremely powerful. Men, with their tendency to focus on what's obvious, often fail to notice how these subtle expressions can change the direction of a conversation or situation. A glance from a woman can make a man change his thoughts without saying anything. This is the subtle power Nietzsche referred to, which may not be immediately visible, but is highly effective in creating influence. You've likely seen a woman who can change a man's decision with just a look or a clever comment. A very practical example might be during a meeting or a negotiation situation. Sometimes, a woman doesn't need to make a strong demand. She may only need a meaningful look, a gentle question, or a thoughtful remark to make a man change his thinking instantly. In a simple conversation between two people, a woman can say one sentence or even just give a glance, and it can completely change how the man perceives the situation. This is the power that women possess that men might not notice. Power that doesn't need to be overtly shown, but creates change through small, subtle actions. Throughout history, women have often been judged by their appearance. They must be beautiful, gentle, and always appear weak and in need of protection. This image has been built within society to make us feel comfortable and at ease. However, Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the greatest philosophers, pointed out that this image is merely an illusion we create to protect ourselves from the complexity and true power of women. In reality, women are much deeper and more complex than what society often portrays. When we look at a woman, society often judges her based on her appearance, how she dresses, her behavior, and what she presents on the surface. This is true not only for women, but for all individuals in society. However, Nietzsche argued that when we only look at the surface, we miss the deeper essence of the individual, and in this case, the essence of women. Nietzsche emphasized that society views women through the lens of idealization, that they must always be pure, flawless, and fulfill the roles of an ideal mother, wife, or daughter. But the truth is, women are not so simple. They are not just the models that society has created to complete ideal relationships within families or society. Women also have contradictions, deep emotions, and complex thoughts, just like anyone else. They have mental strength, creativity, and the ability to impact the world without needing to conform to the traditional standards society expects of them. Nietzsche argued that when we only view women based on surface appearances, we are refusing to understand their true depth. Women can be strong, independent, and have the ability to lead or change the course of life without relying on men or needing to be saved. But this is not always acknowledged. Instead, women are often defined by vague images, where they are merely seen as fragile creatures in need of protection. The image of women as weak, vulnerable creatures needing protection is not reality. It is an illusion created by society. We view women as those who need protection, as beings unable to protect themselves, and in doing so, we create a social model where men are the protectors and saviors. But what is the truth? Women are not always weak or incapable of protecting themselves. On the contrary, they have the ability to adapt and change their environment to survive and thrive, even in challenging circumstances. Women have shown that they are not just creatures needing protection, but can also lead, make strong decisions, and manage the world in their own way. Nietzsche was not criticizing women. He was simply pointing out that the idealization of women diminishes their true value. When society attaches the image of weak, helpless beings to women, it strips them of their power and ability to show their true strength and independence. In many cultures, Women are often expected to sacrifice themselves for the family and for others. They must be the ideal mothers, perfect wives, and always put the needs of others above their own. This has been passed down from generation to generation, becoming part of the societal norms that women are supposed to follow. But is this sacrifice truly fair to women? Are we truly reflecting their worth when we place them in roles that society expects and forces them to adhere to? Nietzsche argued that this is one of the reasons why relationships between men and women become complicated. Women are placed in positions where they must sacrifice themselves, even when they don't want to. They must sacrifice their careers, personal growth, and sometimes even their own happiness for responsibilities imposed by society. This is not only unfair, but also a form of limiting women's power, preventing them from freely developing as they wish. So, the question arises, does asking women to sacrifice for family and others reflect their true value? Are we creating a false image of women, making them feel they must always accept sacrifice and cannot live their own lives? We often think of women as needing protection, but this is not always true. Women have the ability to take care of themselves, make decisions about their lives, and achieve success without the protection of men. In fact, women have proven that they can lead, create, and control situations without needing rescue. This doesn't mean that women never need support in certain situations, but importantly, they are not weak creatures who can only live depending on others. Women can be strong and independent, and relationships between men and women need to be built on respect and the recognition of strength, not on the idealization that they always need to be protected. In modern society, we can see that more and more women are breaking through traditional barriers and proving their leadership in all fields, from politics to business, from arts to science. Women like Marie Curie, Angela Merkel, and Oprah Winfrey have shown that women are not just ideal mothers or wives, but can also become leaders, change the world in their own way, and make an impact. Today, women are changing old perceptions about them, not as weak creatures who only know sacrifice, but as individuals with power and independence. However, the old norms still exist, and many women still feel pressured to sacrifice themselves for the family and others. Throughout history, women have always been idealized as perfect beings, the ideal mothers, loyal wives, pure and vulnerable creatures in need of protection. This is the image society has created and attached to women. But do we truly understand women through this lens? Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the greatest philosophers of the 19th century, pointed out that it is precisely this idealization of women that causes us not to understand them correctly. Nietzsche argued that idealizing women not only prevents us from recognizing them as independent and strong individuals, but also creates a society full of misunderstanding and injustice. This idealized image of women reduces them to beings with perfect outward appearances, but lacks the real depth. They are not allowed to have flaws, independence, or internal conflicts. Instead, they must always be symbols of gentleness and goodness. But it is this idealization that strips women of their true power. Because when society idealizes women, they are placed into a mold that only exists in an imaginary world, not in reality. This prevents women from showing the complexity, strength, or independence they truly possess. They are forced to maintain a pure, naive image, while in reality, they are powerful individuals who can make significant changes in society and their own lives. Nietzsche not only wanted to critique this idealization, but he wanted us to change the way we see women. He urged us to stop seeing women as weak creatures needing protection. Instead, he called on us to view women as independent, strong, and complex individuals with the full power to change and shape their own lives. If we continue to hold on to these idealized images of women, we will forever live in misunderstanding, not only about women, but about the relationship between the genders. To truly build an equal relationship between men and women, we need to remove the false ideals society has built. We cannot continue to sustain these idealized images of women, the ones that turn them into mere beings meant to serve or love men, without acknowledging their power and independence. To change, we must confront the truth about women, the truth that they also have immense power and their own complexities. They are not innocent goddesses or helpless girls who need saving, but individuals who can decide their own lives, lead, create, and change the world in their own way. Therefore, we need to change how we perceive women. We must learn to respect women not just because they are ideal mothers or wives, but because they are individuals with full power, strength, and potential. The relationship between the genders cannot be built on division and idealization, but must be built on mutual understanding and respect. Men and women need to recognize that in order to truly be equal, we must accept and respect each other's differences rather than forcing each other into predefined roles. A truly equal relationship is one where both genders can be themselves without pretending or compromising. When women no longer have to endure unreasonable societal expectations, and when men no longer bear the invisible weight of domination and power, only then can the relationship between men and women truly be one of connection between two strong, equal individuals. Look at successful women leaders throughout history and in modern times. They don't need anyone to rescue them. They are strong, independent individuals. Think of Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, who ruled a vast empire and cleverly managed relationships with leaders like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Cleopatra was a symbol of intelligence, strength, and strategy. She didn't need protection from men. She built her own power and used it tactfully to achieve her goals. A more recent example could be Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany from 2005 to 2021. She was one of the most powerful women in the world, not only because she was the female leader of one of Europe's strongest countries, but also because of how she led with persistence, intelligence, and crisis management skills. Merkel proved that women can lead nations, conduct important international negotiations, and make major decisions without relying on the rescue of men. Another example is Oprah Winfrey, a media mogul. Oprah didn't just dominate the television world, but also built a successful business empire and influenced millions. She created her own media empire from scratch and, more importantly, has impacted lives through her programs, lessons, and the example she set about the strength and independence of women. From these real-life examples, we see that women are fully capable of standing on their own 2 feet, building careers, leading, and mastering their lives. They don't need to be saved. They can save themselves. However, in order for women to reach their full potential, we need to change the way society views them. We must face the truth that women are independent, strong individuals, and they can contribute to society in many ways, from leadership to creativity, to reshaping societal structures that have existed for so long. We can't continue to uphold idealized images of women, images that prevent them from showing their true selves. We need to recognize them not only in their roles as mothers or wives, but also as independent, powerful, and creative individuals. Women possess true power, and an equal relationship between the genders can only be built when both men and women accept and respect that power. In conclusion, we've explored the profound insights of Friedrich Nietzsche on women, power, and the relationship between the genders. First, Nietzsche points out that society has long idealized women, viewing them as pure, weak creatures in need of protection. However, he argues that this idealization only creates misunderstanding and injustice. Women are not beings who must sacrifice themselves or merely serve men, but are strong, independent individuals with their own power and complexity. We've also uncovered the subtle power of women, a power not displayed through overt dominance, but through charm, psychological insight, and the ability to influence without having to make it obvious. This subtle power has helped women stand firm and thrive in a society that often places idealized images upon them. Finally, Nietzsche calls us to abandon these misguided ideals and recognize women as independent and powerful individuals. To build truly equal and understanding relationships, we must embrace our differences, respect each other's power and potential, and not be bound by unrealistic societal molds. So what do you think about Nietzsche's views? Do his ideas still hold relevance in today's society? Or do we continue to live with the same outdated ideals about women? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this discussion insightful, please like the video and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching.